Hi again, everyone. If you watched the first video in our series that breaks the imposing HBIIP application process into smaller, more manageable bites, and you're waiting for the numbers you need to enroll, there are things you should start working on while you're waiting. I'm Ron Lamberty with Flex Fuel Forward, and we recently talked to Tony Crooks and Kelly Bogle with the USDA office running the HBIIP program. And in this first part of step 2, Tony talks about information marketers should have ready when they get access to the HBIIP application website. We've already done the first part of this about enrolling for the HBIIP program. It takes a little while for all that information to come together, and then you can go and apply. But during that somewhere between 10 days to 2 weeks, or maybe a little bit more period, what information can a retailer or jobber, whoever's doing this, get together while they're waiting to get that done? And historical data, how many years of volume, and do you need all grades of fuel? Do you need dollars? What history do I need?
So if that station is in existence of that time, then we have historical data that we require for them for the past 3 years of fuel volume and fuel sales for all fuels, and if the E10 volume, and if they have sold any higher blends fuels for E15 or E85 or B20, then they would want to include that as well. If it's a new station, of course, there's no historical record for that station that's going to be constructed when we're referring to during the grant period. So they're going to have to provide us projected.
And projections,
yes.
What's acceptable as far as projections?
So we're only talking on the form about 1 year. That's okay. When we're talking about an average of 3 years, we're trying to get 1 year, a reasonable estimate of what 1 year of fuel sales would be, or fuel sales volume. And so when we're talking about a projected estimate for a new station, that's what we're talking about, what 1 year might look like in fuel volume and fuel sales.
And I'm guessing that most places, if they're going to borrow money to put in new equipment, they're going to need some kind of projection for their bank, and that works for you too?
That would work perfectly.
So any other like tax returns or fuel profit and loss statements, anything like that you need?
That's not really necessary for the application.
One of the questions that comes up is the applicant. What type of applicant am I? How do I know what that is?
So we have basically 4 different applicant types in this program. There are owners of fueling stations of 10 or fewer fueling stations, owners of 10 or more fueling stations, if they're a fleet facility manager or owner, or if they're a fuel distribution facility owner.
Another question that comes up, the NAICS code. What's your NAICS code?
So we have a pull-down menu for the ones that are most applicable to the program. Okay. But if you need more information, you can go to the National Association of Industrial Codes website and get additional information.
You know, we're going to have, throughout this thing, we're going to have multiple videos, but one of them is the scoring, how this thing's scored, and some of the priority scoring things that you guys have put into this program to help groups that you'd really like to see apply. Can you talk about some of those?
The priority score is basically a function of the fuel dispensers in the proposed activities worksheet, the administrator's priorities, which is based on the location of that facility, whether it's in the 6 New England states, the 24 states west of the Mississippi.
Okay, so the western states west of the Mississippi, and then the 6 New England states, and then we've got interstate corridor. How do I know I'm on an interstate corridor?
If your station is located within a mile of the interstate highway, is easily available or accessible from and to and from the interstate, and they can see it from the interstate as they're driving by, you're located on an interstate highway corridor.
And then the other
Yeah.
one I see is that Seoul Station is the other one that they have
Yes, sir.
as a priority.
And it's a very simple, can you, if you draw a radius of a mile around the location of your station, and there's no station within that mile radius, then you are a SO station in an area.
Okay, and those things are just things, if you're not within a mile of the interstate, you can still apply. These are just things that give you extra points when it comes to
They do
deciding
indeed.
who's
Absolutely.
awarding. Right. So all
Thank
of these things, if you're watching this video, it doesn't mean you don't apply if you're not within a mile or if you've got other stations. That just gives you extra points to,
Yes, sir.
one of the goals of this is to fill in gaps.
Yes, and all of these things are intended to be a nudge, not a full bump, just
Right.
because we're trying to get to those areas that are generally underserved by higher blend fuels.
In the second part of this step 2 conversation, we'll talk about forms you'll need to complete and attach to your application to apply for an HBIIP grant, and a couple of other things you can do while you're waiting for access to the HBIIP application website. As always, if you need more information, you can go to the USDA HBIIP website or flexfuelforward.com. You can email your questions or suggestions to me or Chuck Beck. Please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is flexforward and mine is @Blendor. Thanks for following us, and we'll see you next time.